Well, thank you, Samir. Thank you so much. And it's a delight to be collaborating with Scotch in organizing this panel, what I think is sort of one of the most contemporary and sort of passionate as well as controversial subjects that we are discussing in our economy. So I won't take too much time there. We have about an hour, and there are 7 panelists, all of them experts in their field. So I've got focused questions for each of them. And I will ask them, a question, but they can also sort of make preliminary remarks about the topic and then focus on the question. Then we'll engage with the audience. This is also a wonderful audience, so I'm sure there'll be lots of questions. In ICRIER, most of you know ICRIER, so we are located now also in the Habitat Center, but we have another location in the sort of Saket institutional area, so we are sort of expanding. But we've been working in the data economy for a long period of time, almost 10 years, but we didn't realize it was the data economy that we were working on. It just happened that we were working on IT, we were working on mobile, we were working on internet, and now it's begun to be classified as the data economy, all of it. And what is the data economy? One sort of is still grappling to come to terms with what is the data economy. So the title of this session, Data Economy or Data at Crossroads, I think is reflective of the quandary that we have at the moment, both in terms of measuring the data economy, also sort of understanding what it does to the economy, and then understanding if we have to do something, how do we do that, whether it's regulation, whether it's sort of leaving it on its own, letting it find its own equilibrium. I don't think in India or indeed elsewhere in the world, we have answers for the question of how to address this data economy. But there are questions, and I think it's a good thing that we have questions, because that encourages a public discourse on the topic so that we can come up with an optimal response and not just knee-jerk reactions that this is what we want to do, because that won't serve our purpose, or that won't serve India's purpose. And I want to make it clear that whatever we say here is looking at it in the context of India's economies, right? We want to put the Indian economy first and look at it, what makes sense for us to the extent that we can sort of influence the discourse on data that is happening not only inside, but I think outside the economy as well. I'm going to make a couple of very quick staccato remarks so that the panel can take this up. See, what's happening with the data economy is that it's sort of, the discussion started with, data is the new oil. And then quickly it changed because people said, no, it's not the new oil. It could, if you look at personal data, it became, or it could become the new toxic. And people said that, no, data is a public good. And I think all three will exist simultaneously. It would be an asset that we can exploit for our, personal advantage or economy's advantage. And if you can think of Bangalore existing without data in the manner it does today, I don't think we've understood what the data economy can do to us. It's the new toxic because, personal data is being exploited and misused and abused for personal commercial gains outside the legal system. And then data is a public good. And I think this is something in India which is extremely important, because not only do we have to look at the sort of upper end, which is the sort of unicorns in India that are being developed as a result of this new economy being in place, but we also have to look at what is happening to India's economy at the lower end, the direct benefit transfers, the Aadhaar system, and being able to do biometric identity so that we can make our economy work better. So all of this will coexist simultaneously. Then there will be a lot of antitrust concerns that we'll have to address, and I'll pose some of the questions to the panel. Of course, because of the very nature, companies in this space are going to become big. If you look at the top 5 companies in the world today and compare them with the top 5 companies about a decade ago, you'll soon recognize that there are no companies that are in the top 5 today by market value, by share, or whatever you want to call it, that today all of them are IT companies. And definitely this is something that is changing and transforming the way we live. So there are antitrust concerns. But at the same time, because there are antitrust concerns, you're also having situations where markets are working much better because of the availability of data. When you rate a driver of a taxi hailing app that you have hired, he's or she is also simultaneously rating you. And if you extend this logic and scale this logic up, there is information that is being bridged, i.e. you are addressing asymmetric information, so markets are working much better because of the data economy. So while you have antitrust concerns, you're also making markets work much better, and you're addressing market failure. Of course, while you're addressing market failure, also creating other types of market failure, which is the antitrust issues that I just spoke about. And the last thing that I want to talk about is, before opening up the floor, before going to the sort of panelists, is that, as I said in the beginning, I couldn't have imagined, I've been working on this economy for more than 10 years, I couldn't have imagined where we are today. And part of the reason where we are today is, I think, because of the smartphone, because it's always on you. It's become, as some people have called, a universal content delivery mechanism that is with you, and it is designed to produce an emotional response. And therefore, it's affecting economies, but it's affecting individuals as well. You ask people, what is the first thing that you do after you're waking up? And I'm sure all of you would say, the first thing, I look at my smartphone. And I think it's universally true that this is happening. And this mechanism, this what is called the universal content delivery mechanism, or the smartphone, is changing the way we live, we transact, we interact, and it is often designed, as people say, psychologists say, to produce an emotional response. And that makes it so much more difficult to regulate. So with these words, I'm going to, and thank you once again, Samir and Scotch, for collaborating with ICRIER. We're so happy to do this because something we really sort of have put a lot of effort into the data economy, and we have our researchers, I don't know where they are, but they're somewhere in the audience, and all of them very bright young people who've done a lot of work. So